Everybody, nobody gets it right.
What's going on, Badger fans? Fun show today. We're going to talk about why Luke Fickell is the right guy. Everybody take a breath. We're all good. But we also want to talk about how long should we be hearing the term learning curve? What's the shelf life on that? All that and more in today's Locked On Badgers. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers. We got Jake Iannario coming on. Comedian, longtime Luke Fickell fan, new Badger super fan. Jake, you're coming on to kind of talk about, you've seen some of the angst, some of the frustrations from Badger fans, maybe not starting quite as quickly out of the chute as people had hoped for the Luke Fickell era. What's your overall message with that?
Well, I think we have to have realistic expectations. We're putting in a new coaches, new players, new system, and you're going to have some growing pains there. And I didn't expect us to go undefeated the first year, and nobody should. This guy, he didn't inherit an NFL team, and I just think people have to be realistic. Washington State, people were disappointed, but Washington State at Washington State, that's a tough football team. You look at the way they're playing out of their skulls. And Luke, we're still kind of working some things out about the system. The kids are still kind of learning how this all works. The coaches are still kind of learning how some of this works, I think. And you just got to give this guy time. I don't know how much time, but he's the kind of coach, and you may have heard him say this specifically, where he says he wants the team to improve as the season goes on. By the end of the season, the team should be drastically stronger than they were at the start of the season. And I believe we are going to see this. I think that, we could watch Washington State go on to lose 3 games in a row and fall apart as the season goes on. We could watch Wisconsin get stronger and stronger and win a couple games they shouldn't. And I think we will. I don't think anybody should panic over a loss to Washington State at Washington State night game, Pac-12. That was that's going to happen in a first-year system like this with a new quarterback and everything. So I actually think that this team's right on schedule. And I'm predicting, and I'm sticking with my prediction from the last show, we're going to win a bowl game this year. It may not be the national championship, but we're going to win a solid bowl game this year. That's my that's an Iannario guarantee. Lock it in. Lock it in.
I love the Iannario guarantee. And for those who missed Jake on the first show we did, I should have maybe led with this. Jake grew up with Luke Fickell, so he has some unique insight on kind of what makes Luke Fickell tick there, which I think is part of the joy of having Jake on. Not besides your incredible personality and wonderful face for TV. Besides all of that, I want to go here because I agree with you. And by the way, I think most Badger fans aren't panicking, right? I think there's always going to be vocal minorities on both sides of everything. I don't think most Badger fans are panicking. I do think Badger fans, again, expected it to click maybe a little quicker. And they look at Dion at Colorado, right? They look at Sonny Dykes at TCU last year and they say, well.
Compare him to Dion, though. A whole different situation. Dion brought his whole team from Florida that already knew the system. And don't think Dion's going to go undefeated this year. If you do, you're out of your mind. He's got Oregon and USC coming up with one of his key players injured. He's got some L's coming. He ain't going to – anybody who's buying into this Colorado win it, and no offense against Dion, I love what he's doing over there. Much respect to him. That is incredible. If he loses every game from here on out, he still won 3 times more games than they did last season. So right now, you can't really say he's done anything less than incredible. He's doing great, yeah. But you got to look at the whole season. You can't just go, oh, well, look at what Dion's doing. Completely different situation.
Yeah, and the thing with Dion too, and this is where I agree with you. I would caution people to. So I agree with you on both your big points here. The first one is the book's not written on Dion in Colorado for this year yet. I would just caution people. It's very early, right? And Colorado State's not a good team. Nebraska's not a good team. He caught TCU. Maybe he's napping a little bit. I don't know. I'm not trying to diminish anything he's done. He just waits, is it. And your other point is correct. Like, he could win no more games, and he's already put Colorado on the map. He's increased their media exposure. He's brought recruiting. He's brought money. He's brought NIL. Like, it's already win for Colorado. It's no knock there. Let's just hold the brakes before we start anointing him as Nick Saban.
Right.
The other thing with Luke, and this is a point Steve Mitchell brings this up, didn't expect to go undefeated. Also didn't expect the offense to look worse than last year at times. I think one of the reasons, Steve, that and I get this point, but you bring in Luke to raise the ceiling of the program. You could have stayed with Paul Chryst and Jim Leonard, and it would have, I think the team probably would have looked a little cleaner in a lot of respects, but we know what the ceiling had become with that previous group, and it wasn't the ceiling that Luke Fickell brings in. So maybe you break a couple eggs to ultimately make a better omelet. I don't know if that's the greatest analogy, but it's not going to go perfect, but you're bringing in someone who could raise the ceiling, which is why we did this.
I studied jiu-jitsu for a few years. I went and I trained real hard in jiu-jitsu. And I had this coach who was the greatest guy in the world. His name's Robin Giesler. Great individual. And I would go in there and I would get destroyed. I would lose every match. I would just get humiliated horribly. And afterwards I'd go, Coach, what happened? And he'd go, you did fine. And I'd go, well, what do you mean I did fine? He goes, look, this guy's been training a lot longer than you. He knows how this works. You did fine. Now you're looking at a situation where you're like, well, our offense didn't look good. It's a whole new system with new kids. And I'm comparing it to jiu-jitsu in a way because they did fine. They're right on schedule. They're going to improve drastically. Coach Fickell develops players. It's his thing. Look what he did at Cincinnati. He developed those kids. Some of those kids were not the greatest recruits in the world, but they got better and better. And now look at how some of them ended up. I mean, they're right where they should be. They're going to do great. They will improve. We're going to win a bowl game, and we're going to beat the Minnesota Golden Chipmunks. They're going down. They don't stand a chance with Emilianakis or whatever his name is at QB. What's this kid's name? Ethan Kaliakamakinis? What is it? Yeah. You can't put a K right next to an M. That don't work. Kaliakamin. You can't pronounce it. Kaliakamin. Kali. And what's an Ethan? We ain't getting beat by no team with a quarterback whose name's Nathan without the N. They didn't even put the N. We're winning this thing. And I got to say, this one time I was making fun of that kid. I was in Minnesota doing a gig, and he was in the crowd, bro.
Stop it.
And he got so picked up there was a candle on the table, and he picked it up and he threw it at me, and it got picked off for a touchdown.
Yes.
Let's go.
This was
bad football.
By the way, I absolutely love that you've already embraced the Gopher rivalry. Like, you're a newfound Badger fan, but you're attacking this the right way, which I absolutely love. I want to go here. We need to take a quick break, but I do want to, coming out of this, Jake has some fun stuff coming up that we want to talk about. And I also want to talk about, Todd had a question. Again, what is the time frame? We've talked about improving, getting better, learning curve, new players. How long should we be allowed to talk about that before we have to start getting a little critical? We're going to talk about that next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick break for friends of the show. And just to thank you again to everybody tuning in. This is kind of a spur of the moment show, but it's a lot of fun and I appreciate it. Today's episode is brought to you by Birddogs. I've talked about Birddogs a lot. Listen, Birddogs are my absolute favorite pair of clothing for so many reasons. The first of which is they're incredibly comfortable. It's hot outside, but I don't notice it because I got my Birddogs on. It keeps me looking like a normal human adult, like a guy who knows how to dress himself, even though really I don't. So I'm fooling people because Birddogs make me look good. They do everything for me from a wardrobe standpoint. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege. Enter promo code LockedOnCollege at checkout for a free Birddogs water bottle with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege for a free water bottle at checkout. You will not want to take your Birddogs off. Today's episode also brought to you by Jase Medical. Jase Medical sent me a new Jase case, which is I get 5 life-saving prescriptions in a case, just in case something bad happens, the apocalypse comes, or just a power outage. everywhere in between, Jase Medical has me covered with life-saving prescriptions that I don't have to worry about. Is there going to be power at the pharmacy? Are the roads going to be clear? I'm empowered to take care of my family. Jase Medical is doing that for me, and they're doing it for everybody. Right now, you can save $360 or and plus an additional $20 off by using code LOCKEDON at checkout at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com, promo code LOCKEDON. Be empowered to be protected against emergencies and disasters with the Jase case, jasemedical.com, promo code LOCKEDON. All right, let's bring Jake back on here. Jake, I want to more Luke Fickell I want to talk about, but you have some pretty amazing stuff going on coming up here quickly. I want to talk about that and give you an opportunity to talk about what you got going on.
Well, I know there's Wisconsin Badger fans everywhere, all over the world, literally. I'm down in Florida doing a comedy tour. So if anybody's down in Florida, we got any Badger fans want to come out to my shows? Can I just run through a couple dates real fast?
Yes, absolutely.
Tomorrow night, September 21st, Side Splitters, Tampa, Florida. September 22nd, 23rd, 26th, 27th, Comedy Key West, Florida. September 28th, Off the Hook Comedy Club, Naples, Florida. Beautiful club. Just did $1 million renovation. September 29th and 30th, Black Box Comedy, Boca Raton, Florida. October 1st, back at Off the Hook Comedy, Naples, Florida. If you're in Florida, you can catch my dates. It's this name right here at Facebook or Instagram or Tinder or MySpace. All the kids are on MySpace now, right, Ryan? You just got MySpace. He's got a Yeehaw Winnie Diddle page for his MySpace that a lot of people are enjoying.
That's an inside joke. If people have tuned in recently, they don't know the Yeehaw Winnie Diddle story. That was another one out of the original Jake episode. By the way, down below, somewhere here, there it is. Check out his details on his Facebook page. We'll put that in the show notes as well. So definitely, if you're in Florida, go check out what Jake's doing. Badger fan, Gopher hater, comedic genius. So definitely go check that out. Jake, before we went off to the commercial, we teased this idea that came up from Todd's comment. What do you feel like is a realistic time frame in which the Badgers are who they are? You know, is it a week, a month, a year? You mentioned getting better throughout the year. Is this going to take a full year before we see Luke Fickell's kind of imprint on this team, do you think? Or are we thinking even a bit longer picture?
I mean, what's everybody's expectations? I would be happy with a bowl win at the end of the season and a winning record. I mean, I would
interject there. That to me is lower than the average Badger fan. Like I'm hoping for 10-2, and maybe I'm over them. Maybe I'm over the moon on that. Listen, I don't know if you've seen the rest of the teams we play in the Big Ten West. It is not exactly a murderer's row that we're going to be walking through the rest of the season outside of Ohio State and Iowa.
Ohio State, Iowa. Hey man, don't sleep on Purdue at home. I've been to that stadium. That's a tough place to play. They go, well, it's a small stadium. Yeah, but those kids are right on you and in your face. Like there's no room between you and the kids, and they are they'll heckle you. They're loud. Don't sleep on Purdue at home. I think we win that game, but I think it's not going to be easy. Who else do we play?
Illinois, Minnesota, Nebraska, Northwestern. Again, it is really not a murderer's row here. Now, I will say this, and you know this, Jake. Any team can beat anybody if you show up and you throw 4 picks or you don't play well, right? Like nobody's immune in college football from tripping up. So 10-2 is a lofty expectation. Like I would be totally good with 9-3 as well. I think below that, I start to get a little disappointed just because the teams on the schedule aren't very good. It's as much a reflection of that as how good I think we should be.
I would just look at it like this year, and this might disappoint some people to hear me say, but this year I think is a building year, and it's a year where they have to figure a lot of things out and get the right personnel in. I think they still don't have the exact personnel they need to do what they want to do, I don't think. So I would just consider any wins this year gravy. Next season, I might get a little higher expectation. Season 3, that's when I think we do it. That's when Coach Fickell really just starts steamrolling everybody. When he gets his personnel in, when everybody knows what's going on, everybody understands how the systems work, then he's going to be very, very dangerous. Let's see. I don't think he did great his first season with Cincinnati. I think that was a stinker season, wasn't it?
It was a losing year.
He's going to do better than he did there, certainly. Yeah. But I don't think anybody. He's going to do fine. Like I said, I would be happy with a nice bowl win and a winning record. I don't know, 7-8 wins, and I think it would be more realistic for a guy who's replacing literally everybody and everything. It's all new.
John Berger, by the way, says, love Jake's outfit. Totally 70s retro. Just tint the glasses a little bit more. Go grab a tennis racket.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Hang on. Check it out. Look at this.
Yeah, that is a great look.
I've never known the love of a woman.
It's a great
All
look.
right, enough of that.
I want to ask you this. So, again, for people who don't know, you grew up in Ohio. You were an Ohio State guy. Can Luke Fickell get Wisconsin to that level? Just point blank.
Yes. I think he's the guy to do it. And maybe I've known Luke since we were kids, and I know what kind of man he is, what kind of individual he is. I've watched him coach my whole life. And I know how competitive he is, how serious he is, what kind of work ethic he has. You'll never see any sort of negative press about this guy because he's literally that guy. He's if anybody can do it, I have faith it's Coach Fickell.
I love it. In the comments, Doozy says 7 wins doesn't justify the money that was spent. Again, it speaks to the expectation. 7 wins would be disappointing to me, Jake. Just personally, I could be wrong. Maybe I totally understand the perspective you're coming from. Again, I continue to go back and look at the schedule we're playing, and it just isn't very good. If we win 7, I think there will be some frustration, whether it's deserved or not. There's just high expectations walking into Madison.
Sure, I mean it's a storied program with an incredible history. But I don't think anybody's just going to come in and go 10-2, man. I don't think Deion Sanders is going to go 10-2.
No, we'll see.
The whole staff, even with all his players coming with him, they ain't going 10-2.
Right. Well, to your point, they got USC and Oregon coming up, and you're going to lose some game you don't think you're going to lose. That happens every single year, right? So yeah, you're probably right on that one. This is just going to be a quick show today, but definitely wanted to get Jake on. Any last thoughts here, Jake? You got 52 people in the chat right now. John Berger says Jake is cool. I'd hang with him, but only if you wear the fedora.
Okay. Yeah, let's put this on for my closing statements.
There we go. I love it.
I think that the game I have my eye on this season for Wisconsin, the game that I think Coach Fickell probably has circled in that calendar, and you know what I'm going to say, Ohio State coming in, night game at Wisconsin. That's going to be the game. That's I think everybody's going to be really proud of what Coach Fickell does that day. That's my prediction. We're going to a bowl game. We're beating Minnesota, and we're going to give Ohio State the fight of their life. Mark it down, lock it in. Let me take my fedora back off and put it back on. Lock it in.
I love it. I absolutely love it. We'll be at that game. The Lockdown crew will be at that game. Myself, Justin, Rajiv. This is probably going to sound terrible. I don't know who Joe Santorini is. Should I? Is that
It's Joe Santorini. I don't know. Now we're going to have to Google Joe Santorini.
Wow. I thought I was, so I'm glad that someone else doesn't know either, because I feel like I should know that.
Oh, is he Sabatini? You might be saying Sabatini. I don't know, man.
I don't know. Anyway,
dude, thanks for having me back. Oh yeah, Joe Satriani. Is that who's Joe? Yeah. Oh, dude, he played like this. Guitar player, really handsome dude, by the way.
Clearly, drawing comparisons to Jake here, quite obviously. Yeah. Anyway, he is Jake.
Aaron, wait, real quick.
Yeah,
real quick. You got to explain something to me. So one day, you don't want to go to work, so you intentionally wreck your car into a tree, so that you go, well, lying, I wrecked my car into a tree, and I'm an honest person. I didn't lie. Yeah, but did this really happen, sir?
Story. So the 5-minute version of this is I was in the Navy. I had a chief who was like, I had trouble being late. Like, I'd been late a couple times, and he told me in language I can't use on this show, if you're late one more time, your life will end. Right. So I was like, yeah, I got you, chief. No worries. And then, of course, like 2 weeks later, I have 7 alarm clocks. None of them work. I don't know. I'm late. I wake up and I know exactly how many minutes it takes to get from my house to my submarine, right? And I know, looking at my watch, I have no chance of making this. I'm still trying. Like, I'm coming out the door, I'm buttoning up my shirt, I'm like shaving on the way, and I'm thinking in my head, going through a Rolodex of, okay, my alarm didn't go off, power outage, whatever it is. I don't know. I'm gonna come up with something. But this dude's like, he's a living lie detector. Like, nothing's gonna work with him. I'm dead. So I'm driving. And it was like that the heavens opened up and I had this clarity of vision. Like, a voice spoke to me and said, just hit a tree. Right. Like, so I'm like, I had this clarity of moment where I'm just driving and I said, I'm going to hit a tree. Like, I'm just going to get in an accident.
Literally
And
ran a car into a tree.
yeah. So I'm driving and there's like woods on both sides of me in Georgia. And I just turn off into the woods like I was going into the Bat Cave. Like, there was no entrance. I just go into the woods. I missed the first tree I'm aiming for. I'm in my Jeep, like down in the woods, and you don't go far in the woods if there's not a road. And I just hit a tree, right? And like, it worked. Like, he was like, "Oh man, that's terrible. You okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna make it in on time. I got in an accident. I just swerved. I don't know what happened." So yeah, it's a true story.
I want the guy on the show, and I want you to confess to him what you did. I want to see his reaction when you say, I ran into a tree on purpose because you terrified me, sir.
Senior Chief Davis. Yeah, he's still down in Georgia. He's out of the Navy now, but I can see what I can do. He's a great guy. He's like one of the most instrumental guys in my life for turning me back on the course that I don't have to hit trees because I'm late all the time, into a normal functioning human. Him and Birddogs have turned me into a normal human adult. So I will see what I can do to get formerly Senior Chief Davis on the show.
That would be great.
All right, man. Jake, as always, you're awesome. Thank you for coming on the show. Definitely do it again, at least before the Ohio State game. Definitely do it again.
Yeah, definitely. On Wisconsin. Let's go.
Let's go.